What's up guys, it's Wayne from GamerGab. I've been playing video games a long time, but there are some classic franchises out there that I've still never tried for one reason or another, like Final Fantasy and Metal Gear. One of the oldest is probably Warhammer 40,000. Now 40K started as a tabletop game back in 1987 and has become wildly popular. Now, since I'm not really into tabletop games or turn-based combat, I just never got into it. But recently I found Space Marine 1 and 2 on Game Pass and decided to see what it was all about. So what did I, as a 40K noob, think about my first experience in the Grimdark? Well, let's get into it.
GamerGab.
Go.
First off, pretty much every piece of Warhammer media I've ever seen starts the same way.
In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
And boy, they aren't kidding. This world is bleak. I mean, I guess they don't call it the Grimdark for nothing, but when they say the far future, they mean the 41st millennium. Now, in the Space Marine games, you play as Captain Titus and then later Lieutenant Titus, a member of the Astartes Ultramarines, superhuman soldiers engineered to fight the enemies of the Imperium of Man across the galaxy. As far as gameplay goes, it's a third-person shooter, kind of like Gears of War, but with less of a focus on cover during combat. Overall, the gameplay is smooth, and I didn't really encounter any bugs to speak of, except for the Xenos, that is.
Oh my gosh! Stop!
The stories told in the Space Marine games are interesting, but it's such a small part of the Warhammer universe as a whole. But it was enough to get me interested, and after I finished the games, I fell all the way in the 40K rabbit hole on YouTube, watching hours of content explaining the lore from the Emperor of Man to the Horus Heresy and so on. This world is so vast that it's kind of daunting. I mean, I have to be honest, at first I didn't see the appeal. Everything in this universe sucks. In fact, I guess that's why there are essentially no good guys in 40K. Most of the stories center around the Imperium of Man, but they are religious zealots ruled by an emperor who's essentially undead and consumes 10,000 of his own followers a day to keep himself alive and keep the forces of chaos from overrunning the galaxy.
It's no big deal.
The humans of 40K are totalitarian and wildly xenophobic. Every faction in this universe is constantly fighting for supremacy, and peace is not really any longer an option. The more I read, the more I got drawn in, learning about how dreadnoughts are made, what titans are. There is some really interesting stuff here. Dark, but interesting. All this to say, I'm probably not going to start hand painting my own miniatures anytime soon, but I kind of get it. What I want to know from you guys is what drew you to 40K? How long have you been playing? What faction do you play and why? For you guys that are into the tabletop games, how do you feel about 40K branching out into digital media? Do you see it as a good thing, or do you think it should remain a tabletop game? After having played Space Marine 1 and 2, I feel like a shooter isn't really the right format for 40K video games. I'd like to see an open-world RPG with a story that could really get into some of the lore and tell a more compelling story. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, leave us a like and consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. I'm Wayne, and I'll see you next time on GamerGab.
GamerGab.
Go.